Hello, welcome back. And this is Tammy with Autistic Wiki, and we're following up, finishing up from the previous video where I was getting caught up on the Walk in REDInstead April challenge. I left off on number 5, April 5, with stereotypes, and we're going to pick up now with day 6, which would be Autistic Characters. I don't really know any. So Autistic Characters, I don't really watch enough TV. I don't do video games. I don't do comics, stuff like that. So I'm not really familiar with any, I'm not very familiar with any autistic characters. But there are quite a few out there if you ever go through and Google like autistic characters TV, autistic characters movie, that sort of thing. You'll find there's a lot of them out there. There's an entire wiki page that has a whole bunch of them on there. So there's actually a lot of books and TV shows and movies that have autistic characters or characters with autistic traits in them. So there's quite a few out there. I don't really know all those too much. When Big Bang first came out, I did kind of like the Sheldon character because it was somebody who I could identify with a little bit. I mean, he's kind of does a lot of things that, boy, you wish you could be that blind to some things, but you can't. Some of the things he does. Over time, the character has gotten kind of old, and I don't know. It's not as funny as it was at one time. Autistic character. There was this one TV show on FX just a couple years ago, I think, and it was called The Bridge, which is based off of it's an adaptation from a Swedish TV show, which I don't remember the name of, but it's a show about kind of a police drama where the border city, so the American version is the police are living in the border city of, was it El Paso? And then on the other side of the border is Mexico. I can't remember what city they had over there. So the show was about this autistic, well, quite a few characters, but one of the characters is an autistic police officer. And they kind of go through how her special interests and her ability to hyperfocus really helps her to solve issues that nobody else can crack. So in many ways, her autism is a huge, and for everybody, is when you're in the correct environment, your autism is very much a benefit to you. But then it also showed how her lack of some social awareness and that sort of thing would hinder her at times. For example, like when she had to go talk to a suspect whose wife had just died, and they were, I think they were suspicious of the husband, so they needed to talk to the husband, but do it in a delicate way because his wife has just died, and she kind of flubbed that a little bit. So that was her name was Sonia, I think. And I liked her as a character. The Bridge on FX, it ran for, I want to say it was like 3 seasons maybe, 2 or 3 seasons, and then stopped. Right now there was a show there, I believe in shooting the 2nd season right now on the Sundance Channel. There is a show called The A Word, and it's originally in the UK or something, and then they're also showing it over here, and it's about a little boy on the autism spectrum, and I can identify with him in so many different ways. Every show starts with him walking down the road with his headphones on and singing to music, and he's always lost in music because that's how he deals with the world, and a lot of what he does I really recognize, and I love that show. So I'm looking forward to that coming back on. I'm not sure when it comes back on, but hopefully soon. Another show that I like, although not overtly autistic, is Silicon Valley, which is about the real Silicon Valley and about developers living in Silicon Valley and everything that goes on in their life. So I like that for a number of reasons because, one, I'm studying developing, so that is, a lot of it is jokes that kind of resonate with me. And then the second part of it is a lot of the people on there, if they're not autistic, they have some autistic traits, and very often it's done in a funny way, in a respectful way. So I really enjoy that show too, and that should be coming back on soon. All right, so that was Autistic Characters. Number 7. Favorite autism blog and bloggers. Well, I wish I had a bunch of these. My favorite autistic blogger, she hasn't been blogging in quite a while. I think her name was Cynthia, and she did Musings of an Aspie, and she also has the store stimtastic.co. I think is where you find it. I liked her because her writing was just really clear and concise, and she would break down a lot of things in a way that she just had a really good way of unpacking a topic and just really exploring it. And she did a really, really good job of it in an interesting way. So I really, really, really enjoyed her writing. I hope she starts blogging again soon. She has written a couple of books, and I can't think of them offhand, but definitely look her up because she is a good writer. Other than her, I can't think of any bloggers that I follow. If somebody writes a piece and I see it shared on Twitter or something, I might go read it, but as a general rule, I don't follow anybody. Part of that is because it's kind of hard to find. The thing with the parts of the autistic community is it tends to be, there's a very large group who are the warrior mothers, the warrior parents, and they're fighting this war called autism, and they're such good people for doing this, and let's all give them a big hand for being such a good person. There's another group who is the advocate, neurodiversity advocate, and I started in this group for a while. I've since pulled myself out of it because I found that a lot of the advocacy topics, or just frame, I don't know, something about it. It's a lot of the focus is about being angry a lot of times and just being insulted by a lot of things. It kind of reminds me when I was 17, 18, 19, when I was young, and first kind of heard about feminism at that time, and girls can do anything boys can do, and don't think less of me just because I'm a girl. I can do anything, and that kind of thing. And I remember back then being in the circle of like-minded people, I started learning that idea of if somebody holds a door open for you, is you yell at them, "How dare you open the door for me? I can open my own door." Well, I did that a few times, and then I thought, well, what a stupid thing to do, because I open the door for people, and it's not because I think they can't open their own door. I do it because it's polite, and that's what you do in polite society. And then how can we turn around and complain that people are rude and nobody has any manners if every time somebody shows you manners, you snap at them and tell them to stop doing it? So I kind of, in many ways, although I would consider myself a feminist, I don't interact with feminist communities, if you will, like online or anything, because there is still, even to this day, there is some element of being angry at men and being angry at the world and being just finding fault with a lot of things. And I found a lot of that in the autism community, the disability community, advocating area, and I don't want to say that it's not all wrong. Nothing is black and white, except for black and white. It's not all wrong, because I mean there are things to get mad about, and there are things that need to be said or need to be brought attention to, but not everything needs to be a war. And some days that's what it feels like in these advocacy communities. Feels like, you know, the most well-intentioned person makes a comment about, could be anything. They could be calling you a person with autism, and people just go off on them. How dare you? Don't you know autistic people don't like that? Well, the thing is, they never took a poll of every autistic person and got 100% compliance. I mean, their group doesn't like it. I personally, I mean, I prefer autistic as opposed to person with autism. But when I'm doing writing or something, I'll use them both interchangeably, because sometimes one just flows better in the sentence than the other. So I agree that somebody shouldn't be telling me which one I prefer, but I don't agree that other autistics should also be telling me which one I prefer. And that is very much what they are doing when they go off on people and say, you need to use autistic because this is how autistics like it. This is how some autistics like it, and it's okay to ask, hey, how do you like it? But if you're writing, you know, a piece for publication, then you use whatever, you know, if you're doing it for, because there's some, for like schools and stuff, that they require you to use one version or the other, then you have to use what's being used. So with the blogs and blogging stuff, I don't get really involved just because I just don't need all that anger and stuff. There's enough to be angry about. I don't think I can be an effective advocate and doing my part to raise awareness if I'm angry. I think I can do a better job if I'm you know, if I'm a happy drunk, so to speak. Not drunk, but I think I'm better suited. I think I can serve my community much better if I'm happy about it instead of finding things to be angry about. So that's what I'm working on. And then number 8, finally getting caught up. Today's April 8th. Today's number is famous autistic people. Well, I don't know very many, so I don't know too much. I did go to went to a talk to see who's the lady with the cows? What's her name? I know you're yelling it right now, and Temple Grandin. She's okay. I mean, you know, we're all different, and none of us, you know, are all exactly the same. So, I find her particular perspective on things. There's quite a few things that I recognize in myself, and then there's others where I don't recognize. So we definitely have had different experiences in our lives. So she's interesting to listen to. I think she's somebody that I would maybe point to for somebody if they were looking to kind of get their feet wet with, like, what are some autistics like? Well, here's one version. Here's somebody who, when she was little, was kind of written off as, you know, being somebody who couldn't function, and, you know, here she is, basically taking care of herself, went through school, you know, was successful. The other one is another one I like, and I know I'll probably say his name wrong, and I won't remember his whole name. Robison. He wrote "Look Me in the Eye." and he did a little stint at Autism Speaks. You know who I'm talking about, I just can't remember the whole name. I like his writing, like when he's blogging or when he's working for a publication, because he's another one where his writing is just very calm and even keeled, and just kind of gets to the facts without getting a lot of emotion wrapped up into it. Not that emotion's wrong, but sometimes it's just a little bit easier to get down to the issues if you just kind of stick to the stuffs. So those are the only two I can think of right now. I can't really think of any others. Interesting enough, I mean, if you think, you know, I think the official number so far is still 1 in 68. I think once it gets down into the 1 in 50, something will probably be at the right number. So if you think, you know, how many famous people there are, if at least, you know, 1 in 60 is, well, maybe that doesn't count for a general population, but, you know, I'm sure that there's quite a few autistic people that are famous that just are not official, you know, maybe not officially diagnosed or something. So they're everywhere. All right, so that is that. Once again, a long video, so sorry about that. But at least I got caught up, and I'll see you next week for the next one. I'm going to try not to do that. All right, thank you. Have a good night.